Tonight, no signs of de-escalation as Iran and Israel exchanged new strikes with the decision on U.S. involvement hanging in the balance. President Trump pressed on what role the U.S. could play in the conflict. His response tonight. Both sides trading a barrage of missiles, security cameras capturing the blast as a rocket strikes an apartment building in Israel. Plus, our Andrea Mitchell speaks exclusively with the Iranian foreign minister, what he says about reaching a deal with the U.S. Also tonight, terrifying video of a deadly rock slide at Banff National Park. Hikers running for their lives as the wall of boulders comes crashing down. We hear from a survivor how she escaped just in the nick of time. Memphis kidnapping plot. A man arrested after allegedly scaling a wall near the mayor's home, armed with a taser, rope, and duct tape. What we're learning. Dramatic dash cam video of a semi-truck crashing, then erupting into a fireball. What we know about that driver. The triple-digit heat wave stretching from Arizona to Massachusetts. Nearly 140 million bracing for the brutal temperatures. Bill Cairns is standing by. And opening the window to a taste of Italy in the heart of New York City. The wine window service dating back centuries just installed in Times Square. Top Story starts right now. Good evening. I'm Ellison Barber in for Tom Llamas. We begin tonight with Israel and Iran in limbo. Reporters questioning President Trump today as the conflict enters its second destructive week. Security cameras capturing the moment an Iranian missile landed near a residential building in Beersheba. A ball of fire and shattered glass filling the lobby there. Another blast also in southern Israel sent this building up in flames, and a missile blasting this building in Haifa to the north. President Trump's new 2-week deadline at the forefront of this conflict. Trump speaking with our Vaughn Hilliard on the tarmac today about where things stand at this hour.
Prime Minister Netanyahu said that they had the capacity to take out all of Iran's nuclear facilities. So what role would the U.S. be able to play, and why would they if Israel says that they have all of the abilities, their own military?
I'm not sure he said that, but they really have a very limited capacity. They can break through a little section, but they can't go down very deep. They don't have that capacity, and we'll have to see what happens. Maybe it won't be necessary.
And as Trump weighs if or when the U.S. should get involved, voices of dissent are growing louder within his own party.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
We'll have the latest reporting on who's currently in and out of the president's inner circle, plus the exclusive interview with Iran's foreign minister. Our Andrea Mitchell questioning him on the state of this war.
Can diplomacy produce a solution in 2 weeks?
We have come to the conclusion that negotiations by the U.S. was in fact a cover for what Israelis did. So they had perhaps this plan in their mind, and they just needed negotiations, perhaps, to cover it up.
And in Iran, protesters gathering to condemn Israel's strikes. Could all of this unrest lead to a regime change? Our Keir Simmons is on the ground in the region. There's a lot to unpack tonight, so I want to get right to NBC's Garrett Haake, who joins us live now from Washington, D.C. So, Garrett, we weren't sure if we were going to be hearing from the president at all today, but as we saw, he did end up speaking with reporters this afternoon. What more can you tell us about that conversation, and where does it put us in terms of this conflict?
Yeah, Ellison, the president's been kind of jogging in place with his comments over the last couple of days about his decision-making process, today indicating that the 2-week time frame the White House put out yesterday is the upper end of his decision-making patience, and he expects to make a decision one way or another about the U.S. joining Israel's bombardment of Iran within that time frame. He also continue to stick by his idea, unsupported by the intelligence community, at least publicly, that Iran is much closer to developing a nuclear weapon than has been publicly acknowledged. I think the more useful interview of any of these today was actually from the Vice President, J.D. Vance, who has remained in the president's inner circle, who told an interviewer today that the president wants to try for as long as possible to essentially exhaust the opportunity for diplomacy before he makes a decision to try to end Iran's nuclear program the hard way, if you will. So the president biding time. How long that timeline goes, I think, is very much the open question here in Washington.
And Garrett, I want to talk about who the key players are in Trump's inner circle. Some of your new reporting on who's in and who's out. We heard him there saying Tulsi Gabbard essentially doesn't know what she's talking about in his view. What are your sources telling you?
Yeah, that's the second time in a week the president has dismissed Tulsi Gabbard, his director of national intelligence. Our sources, senior administration officials, Defense Department officials, indicate that she and, to a lesser degree, Pete Hegseth are kind of on the outside of the decision-making process here. Gabbard, for her part, is known to oppose any kind of military action in the Middle East. She said that very publicly. The people who the president's really listening to are largely on the top row of that graphic there. I already mentioned the vice president, Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, Stephen Miller, who's kind of Donald Trump's most indispensable aide at this point, and of course Marco Rubio, who wears multiple hats as the Secretary of State and National Security Advisor. Those are the people who the president really trusts most in those moments, and I think those are the people he's relying on the heaviest. That's what our reporting indicates. But of course, with President Trump, he is always casting a wide net in who he talks to, and there's always a little bit of an element of he tends to lean in the direction of the last person he talks to, who, particularly if there's someone who's reinforcing what he already believes. That's part of the reason why you see a lot of traffic around the West Wing when he's there. Everyone wants to make sure they are in the meeting in which he makes a decision, because once he decides, if you're on the outside, your point of view gets lost in the shuffle, Ellison.
NBC's senior White House correspondent Garrett Haake, thank you. Inside Iran tonight, and from family members abroad, desperate pleas for the conflict with Israel to stop. At least 639 people have been killed in Iran since Israel's first strike last week. That's according to a Washington-based human rights group. One resident in Tehran telling us with limited internet, it's becoming increasingly difficult to stay connected with the rest of the outside world. NBC News' chief international correspondent Keir Simmons is in neighboring Iraq with this report.
Tonight's videos going viral on social media include American Iranians terrified for their loved ones.
Whoever's out there begging to call this necessary, this is not a theoretical. This is my family. These are people's lives.
Far from calling for regime change, many are asking for the bombs to stop.
Israel is doing is not liberating the Iranian people. The Islamic Republic has been brutalizing its own people for decades, and Israel bombs are not aimed at dismantling tyranny.
Just 3 years ago, Iranians took to the streets over the death of a 22-year-old woman who had been detained for wearing the wrong clothing in Iran. Their protests with the slogan, "Women, Life, Freedom," were brutally repressed. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has repeated those words as he called for a new Iranian uprising.
Woman, life, freedom.
But a US intelligence firm that utilizes AI to analyze sentiment in closed countries says Israel's campaign is not encouraging a revolution.
What we're seeing in Iran is a somewhat unsurprising rally around the flag effect that, and we're seeing this on a range of media, whether it's social media, messaging, app groups, that people are under attack from Israel.
This week, we were able to reach an academic who lives in Tehran with his family and says just talking to the outside world is getting harder.
Right now, we do have electricity, we do have food, we do have water, so there's no problem in terms of water supply or something like this. Yes, the internet connection is not that much reliable.
Yeah, it was quite difficult to do this call. It's been quite difficult just to talk to each other. The overriding feeling, he told us, is that Iran is under attack.
I know that there are a group of people that are criticizing the government, but most of the people do not criticizing the government because this war was not started by the Iranian government. It wasn't started by the Israelis.
Iran's supreme leader did refuse to completely roll back his nuclear program, and the Filter Labs analysis suggests the 86-year-old is losing support.
People are supportive of Iran, but that's not necessarily making people rally around the supreme leader.
Today, Israel's defense minister again threatened his assassination, saying he can no longer exist. But a week into Israel's campaign to stop Iran gaining a nuclear weapon, the intelligence suggests a striking shift. Is there any kind of a shift in people's view about whether Iran should have a nuclear weapon?
Well, what we started to see in the last few days is actually Iranians say this is the reason why we should have a nuclear weapon, that if they had one, they would be more protected.
And NBC's Keir Simmons joins us now from Erbil, Iraq. Keir, we heard in your piece so many Iranians are saying they just want the bombs to stop. We have seen those long lines of cars as people try to evacuate Tehran. But for those that are staying, how are they surviving in that city?
Well, Mohammed, who you saw in my piece there, speaking from Tehran, said, look, Tehran is a city of 9 million people. If just 20% of them decide that they want to get out, then that is chaos. That is jams as people try to flee the city. He said families are pulling together, helping each other. He said half the people, or some of the people, are really frightened. Others are kind of sticking it out and being brave and confident. We can see from the pictures, you know, that there are hits on residential areas. Those appear to be targeted hits against scientists, for example, military leaders. You know, I've come up close and seen an assassination hit by a drone by apparently the Israelis in other parts of this region. It can be very precise, but hundreds of people in Iran have died so far just in 1 week, and not all of those were military targets or scientists.
Keir Simmons in Iraq, thank you. And at this hour, we are following some major breaking legal news, with a federal judge ordering the Trump administration to release Mahmoud Khalil, the pro-Palestinian activist and Columbia University graduate who's been in federal custody in Louisiana for more than 3 months now. Khalil, a permanent resident of the U.S., has been at the center of President Trump's crackdown on students opposed to the war in Gaza. His wife praised the judge's order, but right now we do not definitively know when Khalil will be set free. Now to Los Angeles, and the top Trump administration official visiting the city at the center of immigration protests this week. Vice President J.D. Vance touching down in L.A. just a few hours ago. The visit comes as a court of appeals ruled the White House was within its authority to deploy National Guard troops in response to protests in that city. On the ground covering it all for us is NBC's Jacob Soboroff, who first broke the news of the vice president's visit. Jacob, we heard from the vice president moments ago. What did he have to say?
Ellison, so the vice president came here to the federal building where, after 2 weeks of these ongoing immigration enforcement operations, he heard from federal law enforcement agents and operators here about the ongoing effort to engage in the largest mass deportation program in American history. You can see him there shaking hands with some of the Marines inside. He renewed some of the calls to the administration that Mayor Karen Bass of Los Angeles, Governor Gavin Newsom of California were inciting what he called violent mobs on the streets of Los Angeles. Of course, it has been a largely peaceful 2 weeks here in Los Angeles, and I can tell you that as a reporter who has been on the streets. While there have been some clashes, it has been the exception rather than the rule. He also made reference to Alex Padilla, the California senior senator, who was placed into handcuffs in this building just 1 week ago when he showed up at the press conference for Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, but he called him by the wrong name. Watch this.
Well, I was hoping Jose Padilla would be here to ask a question, but unfortunately, I guess he decided not to show up because there wasn't the theater. And that's all it is.
Jose Padilla was the name that he used there. Of course, California Senator Alex Padilla has been a senator as the senior senator, and before that was a longtime public official here in Los Angeles. He went from here to the Republican National Committee's fundraiser in Beverly Hills, and he will only be on the ground here in Los Angeles for about 5 hours. So he won't get that view of Los Angeles so many of us have watching these events play out over the last couple of weeks. It was a very quick trip in and out of Los Angeles, Elson.
And Jacob, the New York Times has some new reporting tonight that community leaders are calling on the LA Dodgers to take a public stand against immigration raids. You've done a lot of reporting in and around Dodgers Stadium. Talk to us about what we know in terms of those requests and what are federal agents asking of the Dodgers.
There's actually some late-breaking news on that front, Ellison. The Dodgers have just announced they're going to be donating $1 million to affected families that have been affected by this series of ongoing enforcement operations in Los Angeles. Where exactly that money is going to go or to whom, we don't have the specifics on yet. But as you said, it comes in the wake of criticism from local officials and certainly citizens here in Los Angeles after they saw the pictures that you're looking at on your screen of federal agents outside Dodger Stadium who had come face-to-face with protesters. We were there as well after a series of raids yesterday morning, starting with a Home Depot in the Hollywood area. And so we're going to be waiting to find out where that money is going to go and to whom exactly. But that is some news at this hour from the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Jacob Soboroff with that breaking news. Thank you. In Canada, a horrifying new video shows the moment a portion of a mountainside gave way, triggering a deadly rock slide and trapping hikers below. NBC's Morgan Chesky with the details.
In Canada, a frightening rumble turning into a deadly roar. A lone hiker seen scrambling for their life, chased by a rock slide, unleashing a terrifying cascade of boulders and debris.
I got up and just started running.
Ellie Jackson says the wall came down with so much force it just exploded.
I thought I was going to die because when I saw the rock coming down, I knew I couldn't survive that.
Caught in its path, members of a local hiking group, with multiple members caught in the slide, enveloped by a massive dust cloud. The fatal slide happening at Banff National Park, Canada's most popular. The hike near Bow Glacier Falls, a well-traveled area near Lake Louise. Tonight, authorities confirmed rescuers recovered a second body, adding 3 others were airlifted and remain hospitalized. Canadian geologist Dan Sugar says it's not the first time this pristine area has posed a problem.
As of right now, were there any clear warning signs that essentially this hillside would give way?
I don't think that it would be possible to have kind of forecasted or predicted this particular rockfall.
Sharing a smaller slide 2 years ago, injured several when it struck the same area.
Every steep mountain slope, releases rocks from time to time.
Experts believing the slow but steady impact of water and hidden springs may have played a role compromising the rock wall. Sugar believes, based on video and images, this slide was 160 feet wide and up to 30 feet deep. Authorities don't believe anyone else is missing, but say heavy rain tonight could raise the landslide risk even more.
And Morgan Chesky joins us now on set. When you look at that video, it's almost hard to believe more people weren't hurt or killed. I mean, talk to us about how one of the people who survived this actually helped other people get out, right?
Yeah, Allison, Ellie Jackson was there. She ran essentially to save her own life. But once that slide came to a close, she reached into her backpack and pulled out a first aid kit, and she credited multiple survivors in that area for essentially pooling their resources together to help the people that were suffering, were injured, at least minor injuries in that area. They were able to locate them before first responders arrived, treat them as best they could, kind of stabilize them in that horrific scene until they could be airlifted. And as for the 3 people that were taken to an area hospital, we do know that they are being treated but are in stable condition tonight.
NBC's Morgan Chesky, thank you. Now, the triple-digit heat wave and severe weather threatening millions of people. Take a look at this. A car in Bethesda, Maryland, lit on fire by downed power lines after a fast-moving thunderstorm. Trees uprooted, cars and homes heavily damaged across the region. Residents there also on alert as a dangerous heat wave rolls through much of the country. Skyrocketing temperatures set to impact nearly 140 million Americans. Let's get right to NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns. Bill, it is a busy weekend of weather ahead. Talk to us about what you're watching right now.
Allison, so we go all week long watching these severe thunderstorms, all the wind damage, the tornadoes, and now we're straight into a really big, widespread early season heat wave. All the dots on this map show you where we're going to possibly see record highs as we go throughout the weekend into early next week. Look at me, I can't even read this map. There's too many dots here in the Northeast. It gives you an idea of just how widespread this is going to be. We mentioned the 100, almost 40 million people impacted. Now, areas that have warnings, that's the next level up. That's even more dangerous. Check on your elderly, especially if we go through the second and third nights of this. St. Louis, Chicago, Minneapolis to Omaha's all on that. And eventually we'll see these warnings issued on the East Coast, likely from Carolinas all the way back up into New York City by the time we get to Monday and Tuesday. So tomorrow, the worst of it, Minneapolis to Omaha to St. Louis to Chicago, everyone feeling like 105 to 110. And remember, these numbers are in the shade when you factor in the temperature and the humidity. It's what we call the feels like temperature. temperature. And the feels like temperature on Sunday, Chicago still 105. Now we start getting into it in the east. D.C. feeling like 103. By the time we get through Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we really jump up here. D.C. feeling like 105 each and every day. New York City near 100. And even our friends in northern Vermont, about half of northern New England does not have air conditioning. And if it feels like 106, that gets very dangerous for a lot of people. Plus, the schools from New York City northwards are still in session, and most of them are getting out in the middle of next week. As far as severe weather goes, we have a little area of concern heading now into areas of North Dakota. Tonight, this will travel through Bismarck. You'll probably be woken up by storms in the middle of the night in Fargo and eventually towards Duluth. Tomorrow, we'll watch these severe storms diving down through the Great Lakes. But, Ellison, I don't think we're going to see anything too widespread severe weather-wise, unlike the heat, which is here for just about all of us.
All right, Bill Cairns, thank you. We're learning more about the not guilty verdict in Karen Read's high-profile retrial. Tonight, one of the jurors in the case speaking out, detailing what they say played a key role in deliberations. NBC's Emily Ikeda has the details.
Tonight, a window into the deliberation room where Karen Read's fate was decided.
Not guilty or guilty? So say you, Mr. Foreman? So say you all?
I do believe she was innocent.
Paula Prado, a trained attorney, was among the 12 jurors who found Read not guilty of murdering her police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, with her car. A key piece of evidence?
Having a close look at the taillight in the deliberation room.
Prado said that damage was inconsistent with video of Read's red taillight after the alleged crash. The defense suggested it was tampered with. As for her impression of Read,
at first she gave me a vibe of being too confident. She was very focused on the trial and very alert of everything that was going on. After a while, I admire that.
Read's parents sitting down with NBC Boston after they say their first restful sleep in years.
We know Karen is our daughter. Had she done something and struck John O'Keefe, we would have been the first to be notified.
While Read's acquittal was met by an eruption of cheers from her supporters, Prado left the courtroom in tears.
As much as I'm confident that we did the right thing and she's not guilty, I feel sorry that justice wasn't served to John O'Keefe.
A member of O'Keefe's family calling the verdict heartbreaking, but telling Dateline there's relief in closing this chapter.
A positive is Johnny can be at peace, and the family and friends can grieve.
Emily Ikeda, NBC News.
And we're back in a moment with the chilling kidnapping plot targeting the mayor of Memphis. A man arrested with rope, duct tape, and a taser after scaling a brick wall outside the mayor's home. And the trial of Sean Diddy Combs that could be in the hands of a jury sooner than most thought.
Kristen Welker hosts Meet the Press every Sunday on NBC.
Taking over the helm of a 75-year-old broadcast, it's a great responsibility. The best reporters in our business know how to listen. And when you listen, you get the truth.
For NBC News, I'm Tom Llamas.
And that's what we do every night.
We're back now with the latest case of a government official's safety being threatened. The mayor of Memphis, Tennessee, was home with his wife and kids when police say a man walked to the front door, quote, angry and armed with a taser. The suspect now facing charges including attempted kidnapping. NBC's Aaron Gilchrist has this report.
In court today, the man authorities accuse of stalking and attempting to kidnap the mayor of Memphis.
Raise your right hand.
Police say 25-year-old Trenton Abston admitted that he tracked down Mayor Paul Young and went to his home angry and armed with a taser.
The mayor lives in a subdivision that is both gated and guarded, but that didn't stop the suspect. Police say he jumped right over this brick wall.
Inside with his family, Young says he watched on a doorbell camera as Abston walked straight to our home, knocking on the door with gloves on, a full pocket, and a nervous demeanor. It happened on Sunday, less than 24 hours after a masked man went on a rampage targeting lawmakers in Minnesota. When Memphis police arrested Abston this week, he gave them permission to search his car. They found gloves, rope, duct tape, and a taser. Police say Abston, who is licensed as an armed security guard, stated he planned to confront Paul Young about crime in the city of Memphis. But in court today, his family says he's remorseful.
He wants to talk to the mayor. Hear his heart, and you'll understand.
Across the country, elected officials are seeing a rising threat of political violence.
I'm a little shaken, to be quite honest.
Police arrested a man after Ohio Congressman Max Miller says he was targeted for being Jewish while driving to work.
Thank God my daughter was not in my vehicle.
And in New York, the NYPD says it's investigating a bomb threat and racist messages directed at mayoral candidate Zoran Memdani. Some members of Congress calling for more protections.
Public servants and ordinary citizens should not have to fear their lives simply for doing their jobs.
And Aaron Gilchrist joins us now from Memphis. Aaron, upsetting stuff there. I also understand we're getting reports that a Texas man has now been arrested after allegedly making online threats against lawmakers. What can you tell us there?
Yeah, Ellison, this was in the San Antonio area. The police arrested 55-year-old Joseph Villo. They say that he made these comments, posted on YouTube, comments that they described as violent and racist and threatening, obviously, in particular against a few members of Congress. The minority leader in the House, Hakeem Jeffries of New York, Congresswoman Maxine Waters of California as well as several other people, prominent people and groups in some of those posts as well. And as we understand it, these posts were discovered through the work of the local police department along with the FBI. Google played a role in helping to track down the digital footprint of this suspect, and then that helped lead police in San Antonio to arrest him. Ellison, this, though, is just another example of the political threats, the political violence that we've been talking about and hearing more and more about, in particular since January 6th. And it's something that we've heard lawmakers at all levels, federal, state, and local, say is something that needs to stop before someone else gets hurt. Ellison?
NBC's Aaron Gilchrist in Memphis. Thank you. We're back now with the couple charged with carrying out a wild plot to poison and kill women that one of them used to date. Prosecutors say victims' cars were broken into and their water bottles were spiked with poison, including cyanide. NBC's Shaquille Brewster has this one.
A hazmat team in Wisconsin investigating what prosecutors call an extensive poisoning plot. Paul Van Dyne Jr. and his partner Andrea Whitaker used elaborate poisons, including cyanide, to try to murder women Van Dyne had previously been on dates with, according to court documents. Investigators say these vials of hazardous materials were found in his car. One of the alleged victims, a mother of two, speaking out anonymously today during a hearing.
Well over a year ago, I went on just 2 dates with this man. And now my entire life has been turned upside down.
According to court documents, Van Dyne attempted to poison the first victim at least 3 times, beginning on April 26, when he broke into her car, filling her gym water bottle with cyanide and thallium. Then on May 4th, they say he put a toxic and corrosive gas in her trunk.
How close was this to becoming deadly?
Our victim within Rock County got hospitalized. She currently still is in a wheelchair. They had to fly in an antidote out of California for the poison that was used for her.
Investigators say Van Dyne tried to poison a second victim soon after, breaking into her car twice outside of a Costco. The woman told police her mouth felt funny after sipping from her water bottle. Police say they started tracking the pair, a Princeton-educated engineer and a pharmacy student, arresting Van Dyne Sunday near the home of one of the women after he placed a trail camera pointed at her house to surveil her. Van Dyne and Whitaker now facing charges including attempted first-degree intentional homicide and stalking. A judge today setting Van Dyne's bond at $10 million. Today, his alleged victim says she's terrified and no longer feels safe in her own home.
The truth is, I barely knew him. And yet, he and his accomplice decided that I should die.
And Shaquille Brewster joins us now from Chicago. Shaq, do we have any sense of how the cyanide was obtained in this case?
We don't, Ellison, and you saw the sheriff in that piece. I asked him directly if we know how they were able to get these chemicals. He said they're not ready to reveal that yet, but he pointed to Whitaker's background as a pharmacist or studying pharmacy. He said that she knew how to make these chemicals essentially effective and successful. And when you look at just how toxic these chemicals were, these are chemicals that not only threaten the lives of the women who were involved here, but it also threatened their family lives and even threatened the lives of the investigators throughout this investigation. The sheriff telling me that multiple people were rushed to the hospital as they were investigating these chemicals. He also said that more charges in this case are certainly possible, Allison.
NBC's Shaq Brewster, thank you. Let's take a look at Top Stories news feed. We're going to begin with an update in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. The judge saying closing arguments could happen as soon as next week. Prosecutors expecting to rest on Monday, and the defense says they could wrap their case by Wednesday. Combs stands accused of sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation for prostitution. He faces life in prison if convicted. He has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges. A fiery semi-truck crash in Oklahoma sparking a manhunt for the driver who miraculously was not hurt. Look at this dash cam video showing a car swerving out of control into the semi before it falls off the side of the road, bursting into flames. Photos showing the charred aftermath of the wreckage. Neither driver was seriously injured, but the driver of that car that fled the scene. Police searched for 3 hours before ultimately finding him, they say hiding in the woods. The 21-year-old is now facing multiple charges, including reckless driving, driving without a license, and leaving the scene of a crash. Tempers flaring at the field at last night's game at Dodgers Stadium. The benches for both the Dodgers and the San Diego Padres emptying after a Padres player was hit by a pitch. The team meeting face-to-face at home plate for a shouting match that ended with both managers being ejected. Later in the ninth, Padres pitcher Robert Suarez ejected for hitting Dodgers superstar Shohei Ohtani in the back. A wild video of a deer flying through a window at a New Hampshire restaurant early this morning. You gotta see this one too. The restaurant posting security video of the deer smashing through the front window, flying several feet into the middle of the room. The restaurant saying the deer was not injured and a chef safely got it back out of the door. Turning now to Top Stories Global Watch, starting in Ukraine, where new video shows a woman escaping a burning building following a Russian strike. You can see the woman climbing out of a window and then down a ladder, trying to get to safety after that overnight drone attack in the city of Odessa. Ukrainian officials saying at least one person was killed and 14 others injured. They say high-rise buildings and railway infrastructure was targeted. U.S. Customs and Border Patrol shutting down a half-mile smuggling tunnel connecting a commercial warehouse in San Diego County to a home in Tijuana, Mexico. Officials say it was equipped with lights, ventilation, and a track system. They claim it was used to transport things like drugs and weapons. Contractors are expected to pour thousands of gallons of concrete into that tunnel to prevent any future use. And good news tonight for K-pop fans. All 7 BTS members are done with their mandatory military service. Suga, the final BTS singer, will be officially discharged tomorrow. No official events are planned for his release out of concern for overcrowding. The band plans to reunite as a group, they say, sometime this year. We want to turn now back to the escalating conflict in the Middle East. As Trump remains on the fence about U.S. involvement, our Andrea Mitchell with an exclusive sit-down interview with Iran's foreign minister.
Today, in an exclusive interview, Iran's foreign minister calling on President Trump to demand Israel stop its attacks.
What it needs is only a telephone call from Washington to Tel Aviv to stop everything.
Tonight, President Trump responding, saying Israel is winning.
I think it's very hard to make that request right now. If somebody's winning, it's a little bit harder to do than if somebody's losing. But we're ready, willing, and able, and we've been speaking to Iran, and we'll see what happens.
All of it as President Trump again met in the Situation Room as he decides whether to launch a U.S. airstrike on the underground Iranian Fordo nuclear facility. Only the U.S. has the bunker buster bombs capable of destroying it.
Within a matter of weeks, or certainly within a matter of months, they're going to be able to have a nuclear weapon. We can't let that happen.
He said he'll wait up to 2 weeks to give diplomacy a chance.
Just a time to see whether or not people come to their senses.
Tonight, Iran's foreign minister tells us they won't resume talking to the U.S. until Israel stops attacking them.
Can diplomacy produce a solution in 2 weeks? we have come to the conclusion that negotiations by the U.S. was in fact a cover for what Israelis did. So they had perhaps this plan in their mind, and they just needed negotiations perhaps to cover it up. We don't know how we can trust them anymore. What they did was, in fact, a betrayal to diplomacy.
While Iran vowing to respond to any U.S. strike.
Would Iran retaliate against U.S. targets and U.S. forces in the region or elsewhere?
Well, when there is a war, both sides attack each other. That's quite understandable. And self-defense is a legitimate right of every country.
Our thanks to Andrea Mitchell. We're going to pause now for some breaking news. Mahmoud Khalil, the grad student who was taken into custody, seen as a figure to so many, representing the protest campus-wide against the war in Gaza and the Trump administration's response. He has just been released from where he was being detained and held behind bars. Let's listen in.
Who I left behind me shouldn't be there in the first place. The Trump administration are doing their best to dehumanize everyone here. Whether you are a U.S. citizen, an immigrant, or just a person on this land, doesn't mean that you are less of a human. Thank you so much, everyone.
A quick question from The Guardian. So the Trump administration has labelled you a national security threat. They have fought tooth and nail to keep you detained in one of the most renowned and punitive detention centres in the country. Do you have any message for the Trump administration?
Trump and his administration, they chose the wrong person for this. That doesn't mean that there is a right person for this. There is no right person who should be detained for actually protesting a genocide, for protesting their university, Columbia University, that is investing in the genocide of the Palestinian people. So this is my message. I will be able to give more comments at the press conference in New York tomorrow. I really need to catch the flight.
What is the first thing you'll do when you get home tonight?
Just hug my wife and son. That's as simple as that. It's not get back. I did not actually spend time with my son. The only time I spent my son was in a specified 1 hour limit that the government had imposed on us. So that means that now I can actually hug him and Noor, my wife, without looking at the clock, that now it's 59 minutes and they have to give him back to his mom, and then an ICE officer is coming to escort me out. That what actually means.
What's your message to all other immigrants in this country today?
No one is illegal. No human is illegal. That's the message. The message is justice will prevail, no matter what this administration may try to portraying that immigrants are, whether criminals or any of that, trying to do all of this now. This simply is not true, and just to keep the fight against this administration.
Mahmoud, you spent 3 months inside that detention centre, as you say.
Spent 104 days, so more than 3 months.
Reflecting on that time, has it changed you as a person and your politics as well?
Absolutely. I mean, the moment you enter this facility, your rights leave you behind. So once you enter there, you see a different reality, just a different reality about this country that supposedly champions human rights and liberty and justice. But once you cross literally that door, you see the opposite side of what actually happening on this country under just the eyes of everyone. But I will leave it here. Thank you so much, everyone. And again, I will be able to give more comments in New York. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you. Take care. Thanks, Mahmoud.
And we have been listening there to a press conference out of Louisiana. That is Mahmoud Khalil, who was speaking and taking a couple questions from reporters before heading to the airport, he says, to get a flight back home to New York. You will remember he was someone who was associated with the pro-Palestinian protest and said to be a key leader that took place on Columbia University's campus. He was a graduate student previously at Columbia University. He was also a permanent resident of the United States, but despite that, he was taken into federal custody, sent to a detention center in Louisiana, where he has been for more than 3 months. Correcting reporters there, he said it has been a little more than 3 months, 104 days. His wife had a baby while he was in custody. He says he plans to go home to see his wife and spend time with his new son. He was released from federal custody after a judge ruled and ordered that he should be released. We will stay on that developing story as the night progresses. But for now, let's carry on with some of the other news that we are following this evening. We're going to head to our ongoing series, Priced Out, and a stunning new trend for American suburbs. How Home Sweet Home increasingly is coming with a lease instead of a mortgage. Our senior business correspondent, Christine Romans, explains.
America's suburbs undergoing a transformation.
We're priced out of them. You could buy a house tomorrow if the price was right, if the interest rates were where they needed to be.
But mortgage rates are near 7% and home prices at record highs. Since the pandemic, the median single-family home price has soared almost $100,000, now topping $400,000. How is that changing the suburbs?
Well, basically what you see is that renting obviously is a much more economical option than buying. And developers have seen this trend that started in 2021 with COVID, and they've really built a surge of apartments.
According to new analysis of census data, renting in the burbs is surging so much, 203 suburbs across the country are now majority home renter rather than homeowner. In 15 suburbs, the number of renter households more than doubled between 2018 and 2023.
I don't see any end in sight. I really don't. And I foresee it getting worse and worse over the next 5 years.
Renters like Andrew Decker left wondering how they'll ever be able to buy their piece of the American dream. Christine Romans, NBC News.
I'm Ellison Barber in New York. Stay right there. We'll be right back.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.